All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour one, John and Jim, we are back on a very busy Wednesday where JD Wicker, as we told you about yesterday, will join the show. San Diego State's athletic director will join us coming up at 5 p.m. David J. MadFriars, is there a better story in the minor leagues right now than Ethan Salas, who's like 17 years and 2 months old in advanced day baseball?
Already has a hit?
As a 17-year-old.
I know, yeah, 17-year-old.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it really is crazy. And we'll ask David. I got to assume he's on a track to get to the big leagues at some point in 2024. If they're moving him to advanced day in 2022, that gives you, double A-ish in 2023, maybe start 2024 in triple A. I mean, he's got a decent chance to potentially be in the big leagues at some point in 2024.
I know.
So David J at 5:30. We're going to catch up. We've told you that San Diego State is in fall camp. We'll be broadcasting from FanFest Saturday from 4 to 6. We hope to see you out there. And we're going to catch up with Demetrius Sumier. He is San Diego State's cornerbacks coach. He'll join us before practice, coming up in about 10 or 15 minutes. But last night, Jim, more of the same. This helter-skelter team has lost its third straight. They didn't score in Seattle. Now, some of that was bad luck, to be honest. Look at Fernando Tatis Jr., the play that Julio Rodriguez made, going over the center field wall. But it's just more of the same. You just said in the update. The amazing part of it is they keep losing and they keep gaining. It's like they lose a game and they lose no ground in the standings. And we said it yesterday. In the AL, your season is over. You're looking at Cancun opportunities. Are you going all-inclusive or not? What courses are you playing? But when it comes to the National League, it's like, you could still be dreaming about the World Series because you're just 4 games out of a playoff spot on August 9th.
Monday after that game, I was numb.
Mm-hmm.
After last night's game, I was back to angry again. I didn't think I was going to get there until they were just, completely rock bottom, out of it, fully done, eliminated from the postseason, whatever you want to say. Just last night, I don't know, man. Last night made me upset. It really did. Because all credit to Logan Gilbert. He had a great game, and this year he's dominated against the Padres. If you look at his numbers, he's been fantastic against them. Shocker. But I don't know why last night made me so upset. I think is back to the no fight. It just felt like that. Now, if you want to go, hey, tip your cap. Great. I'm way past tipping my cap. I am so done with that. 120 games into this year with the lineup you have, I am done tipping caps, man. I just am. You got to find a way. And to lose last night 2-0 was just like a demoralizing feeling. But then you look at the standings and you're like, how the hell are they still only 4 games back of a wild card spot? And yet they're 4 games under 500 and they've lost 3 in a row, and they've lost 4 or 5. And it seems like we're back to the old Padres where they seemingly look like they've just kind of given up.
Dude, if you were mad last night, what are you going to be tonight? I mean, we've said 6 times this year.
I'm going to be very lad.
I've said 6 times this year they're playing a must-win game that they've lost. And I'm not kidding. And I think they've said that. They've said in the clubhouse. Manny Machado has said before, hey, we need to win tomorrow, and then they don't win. So you were upset with yesterday against a really good big league pitcher.
Yeah.
Emerson Hancock will make his big league debut tonight.
I know.
That's the actual pitcher who will make his big league debut.
Yeah.
This year in Northwest Arkansas of the Texas League, he's got a 4.5 ERA. So Emerson Hancock, who has never, ever, ever pitched in AAA, has never pitched in the big leagues, is facing a $100 million pitcher in Yu Darvish in a game that the Padres have to win. Tell me if you've read this script before. By the way, Logan Gilbert last night did something that only Felix Hernandez has ever done in Mariners history. 7 or more innings, 10 or more strikeouts, no walks, 1 hit or less. Second time in the history of the Mariners that line's been completed.
So I know it's Wednesday, but is that good?
I mean, he was good yesterday, but to your point, you can't just go around tipping your cap to everyone when you have Manny Machado, who's 0 for his last 10, when you have Juan Soto, who's 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, when you have Fernando Tatis Jr., who hits every ball to the warning track, right? You can't. When you have Ha-Seong Kim, who's like the greatest leadoff hitter since Ricky Henderson.
better.
Right. I mean, it's getting to the point. If Emerson Hancock tonight, like finish this sentence, 70470, start it with team, or put it in the chat if you're watching on YouTube. And thank you for hanging out with us on YouTube, by the way, because we just started yesterday. Finish this sentence. If Emerson Hancock gets a win tonight against the Padres, ...
Be even more mad.
Right? I mean, what are you going to do? What are you going to say?
Nothing. You're going to do nothing. You're just going to be more upset. You're going to be what everybody is right now, which is extremely frustrated with this team, how they've played, how they've looked this year, the up and downness. I guess if you want to,
you can say that.
Up and downness of this season. It's incredible, man. It's just incredible. And I feel so bad for all Padres fans putting up with this, because if you're a Padres fan, if you're a diehard fan, you're not leaving this team. Like, we're not leaving this team, but the diehard fans, they're not leaving this team. They are in it until the very end.
Oh yeah, as they should be.
100%. And so the fact that they have to watch this season, man, with the expectations that this team had, I just feel bad. I just feel sad. Like, this is not this is not how it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be better, way better than this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Mariners right now are what, 8 games over 500, 9 games over 500, and they're 3 or 4 games out of a wild card spot.
That's correct.
Everybody in this town would like give their pinky finger for the Padres to be 9 games over 500.
Maybe a stretch, but fair.
A stretch.
I get your point. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, everybody would die to have the Padres.
Also probably a stretch beyond the pinky finger.
Not physically, like, to see.
Yeah, isn't that like a step forward?
Yeah,
you go from a finger to like your whole life.
Cut off your pinky finger or death.
Right.
I choose death.
They're 2 out, by the way.
Okay, 2 out. But like, the Padres are 4 games under. 4.
Right. So, for example, they're 55 and 59. Is that right?
Yes.
Well, so is Cleveland. Cleveland is 8.5 games out of a playoff spot. The Padres are 4. That's the difference between being in it, quote unquote, and being out of it, quote unquote. So the only way I can possibly look at this, and it's so weird because obviously it's not technically a must win because there's still 40 something games remaining, but it's a must win because when it's Yu Darvish against Emerson Hancock, say that 3 times.
No.
And you've lost 3 consecutive games, like at some point you need to win.
Mm-hmm.
So I see. And by the way, the Chicago Cubs, who had a really bad start to the year, are 16-4 in their last 20 games. They're running away from you. You do this for another week, and we can talk about golf courses in Mexico that are nice in October.
Do the Padres have a 16-4 stretch in them?
So far, no. I mean, is it possible?
You're getting to a point where there's going to be 20 games remaining, and they have to go 16-4.
Dude, they've shown us they don't have a stretch of 5 in them, let alone 16.
They don't have a stretch of 4 in them, Brent.
Will they win 4 games in a row this year? Is actually a rap question.
Yeah,
today, and they're the only team that hasn't done it. And by the way, they've won 0 straight right now, so it's going to take a while.
Mm-hmm. It'll take at least 4 more games.
And again, maybe they benefit. I mean, are they worse than teams like Arizona, Miami that they have coming up? Maybe we'll find out.
And you look at the teams in front of them. The Diamondbacks in their last 31 games are 8-23. They're 8-23, and they're still 2 games better than you.
Yeah, I mean that speaks to kind of where they were, right? They must have been 12 games better than San Diego at some point.
No, I don't think so.
Well, 8-23, Padres have been a 500 team over that stretch.
That's my point. Is
they made up 8 games?
Okay, but even in an 8-23 stretch, you're still trailing that team. That means that you're very average, like very average. Because an 8-23 stretch for a team in front of you, you should be able to catch that.
But they're not average.
I know they're below average.
Right, they're 55
4 games under 500.
and 59. In any other era in the history of baseball, including like 2021, the season is over. If there were only 2 wild cards in the National League, they'd be 7 games out of a playoff spot. 7. But they're not. That's the funny thing about it. I go back to the Phillies last year. They literally limped in. They did everything in their power not to make the postseason. I have no idea what the record was in the final 20 games. It was bad. I mean, really bad. Somewhere in the ilk of like 6-14 or worse. But guess what? They made it. And then what happened? They went to the World Series. And that's what makes it weird. Look at the Lakers this past year. bad year, never really got going, got better after the trade deadline. Weren't they the 7 seed, Jim? Do I have that right? The LA Lakers are the 7 seed?
They're the 7 seed, yeah.
And they were in the Western Conference Finals. So, with sports and regular seasons and how they're devalued, they can still kind of accomplish their goals by playing better baseball than they've played to this point, but they could still accomplish their goals, believe it or not.
They can. It's just one of those things where, are we really just going to have to wait to the very end for this to happen?
I guess so.
And that is such a risky, dangerous game to play. Because waiting till the end to finish things, like what did Musgrove say like 2 months ago? Hey, we can't be those kids that wait till the final second to do our, history report or something along those lines.
Right.
Well, they're procrastinating as much as they possibly can. Deadline's at midnight, and it's pretty close to midnight. So they better get going here. And that's what they've done. They're the kid that thinks that I can just walk into class and I don't need to study. I can get an A on my exam. And then they start doing the exam, and it's like, oh, crap. I forgot to study.
Right.
And this is hard, and I'm screwed.
I mean, here's the thing. It's like, but there is still time, as stupid as it sounds. Like, you're right. It is the night before, but it's not the day of, right? Like, you didn't get to school without the book report. Like, you still have the night before. You can still write the thing if you'd like to. We are only asking for a 4-game or 5-game winning streak. I mean, does it sound like that much? Literally right now, if the Padres won their next 5 games, Jim, there's a very good chance they'd be about a game out. No, I don't know. We'll see what the Cubs do, but you get my point. If the Cubs go 3-2 and you go 5-0, boom, you gain 2 games.
Right. Which is crazy.
Right.
And it just speaks to how bad everybody else is in front of them. The Cubs are playing really good baseball. No one expected. Brent, did you expect the Cubs? Oh, he's on the phone.
He's on the phone with Demetrius Sumier.
Nobody expected the Cubs to be where they're at. But everyone else around them, it just feels like they're giving them all the opportunities, the Padres. They're giving the Padres all these opportunities to say, hey, come catch us. And they still can't do it. And their door is wide open.
It's there. I mean, listen, it's there for now, Jim. But if Chicago does this for another week and you don't, it's over. Like if Chicago's 6-1 this week and you're 3-4 and you fall another 3 games back at the Cubs, then it's it. So it is now or never. At some point, it is truthfully now or never. Now, to our point, if they go 4-0, if they go 5-0, maybe they can, in fact, turn things around. Let's switch gears. We're going to be at FanFest Saturday. Really looking forward to it. We're broadcasting live from 4 to 6. There's an Aztec scrimmage on Saturday at Snapdragon Stadium at 6 p.m. It's our pleasure right now to catch up with San Diego State's cornerbacks coach, Demetrius Sumier, as San Diego State gets ready to take on to the practice field, I believe, later on this afternoon. Demetrius Sumier with us here on John and Jim, the all-new San Diego Sports 760. So, Coach, we appreciate it. I want to start with the secondary because we've talked to Brady Hoke and we've talked to Kurt Maddox this offseason, and they've both been really high on the secondary overall. So what do you think of this group, not just the corners, but the secondary in general, and how this could be a strength of the football team?
Yeah, that's a great question. I want to start by saying thank you guys for having me on. I'm a fan of the show, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, we have a pretty good group, a lot of veteran guys that have played a lot of snaps for us. So we got some healthy competition there, and it's one of the positions where we got several guys that have played a lot of in-game snaps for us. And they're guys that we feel good about. We still got some work to do. We still got to get better, keep pushing the envelope a little bit. But whenever you have some experience, it gives you a little sense of trustworthiness in those guys.
Yeah, of course. And Coach, looking at the start of camp here, what have you seen from your corners against these receivers on the other end of the ball?
Yeah, they've been doing a good job. I think they've developed a little bit. I think some guys have put some good weight on and have gained a little bit of speed through the strength program this summer, and they're playing confident. Then the other big thing is knowing what to do. Because playing in the secondary, one mistake is going to be a touchdown. So I think we've been pretty good on our assignments and communicating with the safeties of exactly what we're doing and not blowing any coverages. And they're really buying into what we're trying to get done here.
Aztecs cornersback coach Demetrius Sumier with us right now, John and Jim, the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Tell us about Jalen Maiden. I mean, obviously, you're coaching on the defensive side of the ball, but you're going up against this offense. It's been about 10 or 15 days now of fall camp. What are you seeing from the San Diego State offense?
Yeah, Jalen's doing a great job. He has full command of the offense. Obviously, getting switching positions halfway through last season and trying to get back in the groove of playing quarterback in a week is not an ideal situation. So with the whole spring ball and a whole off season and now going through camp and installing the offense, I think he's doing a really good job commanding the offense, being a leader out here. and he's making some great throws where we're contesting them, and it's just a better throw than it is defense. So I think Made's doing a great job for us.
The secondary, the cornerback position for you guys is considered, a strength of this defense. But that being said, like, what do you guys still need to work on in camp here to get ready for Ohio?
Yeah, I just think it's the little things, the details and the fundamentals. As far as just eye placement and man coverage, making sure we're staying square, we're executing our assignments, doing the things that we're asking them to do. I think for the most part, we got a really good idea of what to do in this defense, and most of these guys have played in it for 2 to 3 years, so they know what to do. But I think you can always get better in the techniques and the fundamentals, because late in the season, late in games when guys get tired, that's when you kind of got to fall back on your fundamentals and techniques. So just trying to get those guys dialed in on those. So every single day, it almost becomes muscle memory for them. So they're doing it the right thing every play.
Aztecs assistant coach Demetrius Sumier with us right now, John and Jim. Again, FanFest, Snapdragon Stadium, Saturday. Free tickets available at goaztecs.com. We'll broadcast live, John and Jim, from 4 to 6 p.m. Coach, I'm curious from one season to the next, and you always have turnover. But, of course, you've been at San Diego State for a good period of time at this point. Is there a bit of a sour taste on the way last year finished among the returning core that is motivating them heading into this season or not?
Oh, absolutely. We have a standard here at San Diego State, and it was started well before I got here, with winning championships and playing high-level defense and competing at a very high level. And we felt that we didn't meet that standard last year. In our Aztec creed, we always talk about past, present, and future Aztec Warriors. And, our past Aztec Warriors aren't happy about it either. So, we got a lot of growth to do. Guys are aware that, we didn't perform well enough. We didn't perform to our expectation last year. So we got to ramp it up a notch, and we got to do some things different to make sure that doesn't happen again.
What are you looking to accomplish this Saturday for your scrimmage at Snapdragon Stadium? Like, what are you telling your guys that you need to do on Saturday?
I just want them to go out there and compete, to be honest. That's the big thing for us. At the end of the day, you only get so many opportunities to actually play 11-on-11 tackle football, even throughout camp. It's limited the amount of days you get to actually do it. So the fact we get to go out, actually tackle guys, play some real football, I just want to see those guys go out there, compete, have fun. And like I said, we got some competition going on in the room. So, a lot of guys that can play. So guys are going to be separating themselves when we get in those live situations.
Before you go, again, Aztecs assistant coach Demetrius Sumier, and you've been coaching on the defensive side for a number of years at this point. What's it like to coach under guys like you've coached under Brady, Rocky, Kurt Maddox? What type of experience has that been for you personally?
It's been a great experience. All those guys are a little different in their approach to it, but I think at the core and what they believe in on the defensive side of the ball is all the same. When it comes to, again, playing fast, playing physical, being multiple on defense, and ultimately just playing the hardest on the field. And so I think they all have that same message. They all have a little different approach about how they go about it. But like I said, at the core of it, it's all the same thing. But I've been fortunate, in any profession, your boss has a lot to do with your work environment. And I've been very fortunate that all three of those guys have been, great bosses and great guys to work for.
Coach, we appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing you and this team out there Saturday at Snapdragon Stadium for FanFest and a scrimmage. Again, Coach, thank you so much. We'll see you this weekend.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, John and Jim. Appreciate you guys having me.
All right, appreciate it. So, yes, we will broadcast live Saturday, Snapdragon Stadium, 4 to 6. Scrimmage at 6. I think they got post-game autographs on Saturday. Not for us, I don't think.
We don't have a booth set up to sign autographs for our one fan.
No, we don't. But here's what it is. So it's Saturday at 6. Gates open at 5. Free admission. Again, you need tickets at goaztecs.com. I'm looking online right now. Free San Diego State roller banners and posters. Okay. And post-game autographs. Okay. So we'd love to see you. We'll be broadcasting outside, I think by the team store, Snapdragon Stadium, where we did pregame broadcast last year.
Okay.
Before games. So we'll be there from 4 to 6. We'll catch up with Brady Hoke, by the way, on Saturday as well. And JD Wicker is going to join the show today at 5 o'clock.
Can't wait for that.
All right. So there's a lot to get to here today. We're going to hear from Bob Melvin on the other side on his usage of Josh Hader last night in the 8th inning. Now they were trailing. Also on the other side, we'll tell you about all our giveaways here today. We got a couple of giveaways for you here today. We'll let you know about. One of them we'll give away in the 3 o'clock hour. Another pair of tickets we'll give away in the 4 o'clock hour as well. So on the show today, again, JD Wicker will join us at 5 p.m., San Diego State's athletic director, David J. from MadFriars.com on the promotion of Ethan Salas to Advanced Day Fort Wayne. We'll take a timeout. We'll set up the show. You'll hear from Bob Melvin on the usage of Josh Hader. Stay with us here on John and Jim. Hear from Bob Melvin on using Josh Hader in the 8th inning in a moment. JD Wicker will join us at 5 p.m. We have, I believe, Brent, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 pairs of tickets to give away. We've got Dirk Bentley, we have Godsmack, right? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Godsmack tickets are being given away this hour. I'm just feeling it, Jim.
Okay.
I'm just feeling it. And then for Trainwreck Radio, let's give away the country act, Dirk Bentley. We'll do that in the 4 o'clock hour. Okay, here are the numbers that have perplexed Jim.
We should get them mixed up. We should tell the person going to Dirk Bentley they're going to
Godsmack. It's basically the same.
Same thing,
yeah,
right?
Same
Yeah.
thing.
It's the same thing. It's basically the same act.
Good blend.
A couple of things here.
Yeah, what are these numbers you're talking about?
Here are these numbers. Let me say it again. I'm actually, once you find out what these numbers are, I'm going to sound like Jim Russell because I never would say this, but I'm going to say it. I thought it this morning.
You sound like the guy in Lost. Remember Lost? They had that list of numbers that they had to do.
Didn't they have to like hit something every like 6 hours or
Like
something?
42
Lost?
minutes. I
Yeah.
think,
Are you trying to like decipher a code?
This is the code. Does anyone get this? Whether you're
No one
in
gets
the
this.
chat
Nobody gets it.
or 70470 started with team if you're listening. 18 since 2015. Let me put it that way.
Okay. 20. Okay. All right. That's good. That's a good hint. Okay.
18,
All right.
23,
Okay.
33, 25.5 or and a half.
Yeah.
36,
Okay.
6,
I know.
28,
I know.
22,
I think I know it.
12.
These are the number of games the Padres were behind somebody.
It's the number of games they were trailed in division at the end of the year.
Yeah. That's
It's the number of games they were behind the Dodgers.
yeah, the Dodgers.
Well, yeah. It's
Yeah, which
their
is basically
division.
trailing the division. Although one of those years, this is all just Dodgers because they did finish in second to the Giants at one point in there.
Right. But one year the Giants and Dodgers both won 106 and 107 games.
Correct.
Right.
But anyway, and I sound like Jim because I'm usually the guy that says, who cares?
Oh,
But I got
okay.
fed up with it last night for some reason because they lost and the Dodgers beat the Diamondbacks. And Diamondbacks have been terrible. And they
So
fell
bad.
another game back. Remember heading into this past week, we're like, oh, they're 8.5 out.
Yeah.
And if they win 3 out of 4, we can talk about the division. Here we are a week later, they're 12 games out.
No chance.
So it's like, listen, I mean, they finished 6 out in a 60-game season, which would pace to be 16 out. So let's just use that as a 16 out. If you use that as 16 out, they have not finished closer than 16 out since 2015, unless you want to say this year when they're 12 out, but there's still baseball to be played.
What happened the year they were only 6 back?
I just said it.
Oh, the 2020.
That was 2020.
Yeah,
That was
right.
the 60 games.
What about
So-
the 36 games back?
dude? Yeah. So what year was that?
36 games back.
Right. This is 23, 22, 21, 20. That was 19. That was when they just completely
quit.
nosedived.
They quit.
Completely quit.
36 games back of the Dodgers.
Dude, was that also the year that Andy Green made the speech, or who was that? Was that Andy?
No, it was
We're
Andy
coming.
Green. We're coming.
That
yeah.
was not 2019, was it?
Might
not
have
have
been
been.
27, 18 or 17. Yeah.
We're coming. Everything we do is to catch the. Well, they're not really coming. Now they did beat them in the postseason. You may recall,
I do recall. Yeah.
and that was nice.
That was great.
But in terms of regular season success, I mean, it hasn't really been very. If you're into pennant races,
Now,
this might not be the division for you,
like if you told me though, every single year, this might not be for you.
right?
If you told me every single year the Padres are going to struggle in the regular season, they're never going to beat the Dodgers, and they're never going to win a division, and they're never going to win more than 90 games, and it's always going to be a struggle, but they will sneak into the postseason and have these like runs, I would take that. But those things are so hard to bank on, because to bank on getting hot at the exact right time every single year in the postseason after having a really bad regular season, I don't know how sustainable that is.
No, you're 100%. It's not. It's not
I mean-
likely. I mean, it is possible that for like back-to-back years you could get hot at the right time.
Yeah.
Is it likely? No. Well, first of all, it's not likely this year because they're unlikely to make the postseason because they have
That's
work
right
still to
now,
do
yeah.
to make the postseason. But I suppose, like we always say, that if they do get in, they'll have played better baseball, right, over these next 48 games,
Because
and maybe
you-
that'll catapult them. So
You
to
will
speak.
need to have gone at least like 32 and 18.
I don't know about at least. Okay, first of all, there's not even 50 games left.
How about this? 30,
What's the record?
30 and 17.
There's
I don't know.
48 games left.
All right, 30 and 18. Can they
Gets
do
them
that?
85 wins, which may or may not be enough.
So 32 and 16.
They'll be in. But
Yes.
that's 667
That's
baseball.
my point. Is like the record they need to have the rest of the way, 32-16.
Is a pretty good record.
You
And I don't know
kidding
if
me?
they need that. It might be 30-18.
Maybe it might be. I
It
don't know.
might be 29-19. It's somewhere in there. There is no worse than 29-19 and you're in. And that's the problem because they haven't played like that all year. Now they had a 17-10. Didn't they have a 17-10 July you were hyping up?
Yep. Well, it was the start of July up until the trade deadline. Up until that, I want to say that Wednesday against Colorado,
Right.
they were 17-10.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they were 17-10 in that window, and that was great. But then it's like you lose 3 or 4 to the Dodgers, and then you lose last night against the Mariners. You've lost 4 or 5
Right.
after the deadline, and it's like
I know. They're giving it back. Now, 949 wants to know, John, is this the code for the winning lotto numbers last night?
that would be cool.
We didn't win, by the way. So we're still here.
Yeah, if you're
someone in Florida won.
if you're listening to us on the radio or watching us on YouTube,
And you won.
we didn't win the lottery.
But if you did
Duh.
win,
Probably
call
not.
844-570-1360
Right.
and share with us, please.
Please.
All right, let's hear from Bob Melvin, then discuss.
Okay.
Josh Hader, who hadn't pitched since, I don't even know the administration, pitched last night in the 8th inning. It had been a very long time since he had pitched. He pitched in the 8th inning. Here was Bob Melvin postgame.
Where does what the bullpen did today set you up for tomorrow?
We're a lot better today, especially with Josh pitching the 8th and taking some of them off the guys, Wilson and some of the guys we've been using down there. So we should be in pretty good shape tomorrow.
Okay.
So Hader did a solid for Steven Wilson.
And I immediately was like, wait, what's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And even Erin sat next to me and I didn't even tell her. She looks at me and she goes, why is Hader in the 8th? That's weird. And I know the whole, hey, you're trailing and you haven't pitched Hader since last week. And I understand that point.
Mm-hmm.
But
did you tell it to Erin?
I did tell it to Erin.
Okay, good.
But at the same time, this team's trailed a lot of times in the 8th inning on the road by just a couple runs. And we have not seen Josh Hader in there. So that was why it was just weird to me seeing it. Like, whoa, Hader's in a game in a non-safe situation in the 8th inning while trailing. And that's like rarely happened at all this year.
The difference being, you're right, they don't typically use him trailing in the 8th inning. Difference being, they also don't typically not use him for a week. So that's a complete product of circumstance. And here's why. By the way, you might say then, well, John, why didn't they use him in the 8th inning against the Dodgers on Monday
and Friday?
But let's say Monday because they hadn't used him. So why use him yesterday down
trailing.
if you could have used him 2 days ago down? And I'll tell you exactly why. The reason you don't use him trailing against the Dodgers is you don't have him games against the Mariners. Save opportunity, and he's now down for the 3rd game. The advantage of using him yesterday is they're off Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So they can now pitch him tomorrow, be off Thursday, and pitch him again Friday. I get it. It doesn't look exactly right. It speaks to the struggles that they're experiencing right now. They can't find innings for him.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about this in the wrap-up show last night, that it sucks that you have a guy in the back end of your bullpen who it feels like is dictating how much he's going to be used. Maybe not when he's going to be used, but just how much he's going to be used. And then it goes back to the Joe Musgrove quote about egos. And then it goes back to earlier this year where you had players complaining about where they're hitting in the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And then the, rift that everybody heard about between Manny and Bogarts. Like there's something odd. There's something off there.
Right.
So it goes back to like this whole team has felt off this entire year.
Mm-hmm.
And when you pointed it out, it was still very early. And you're thinking to yourself, they'll turn it around. It's a bunch of new guys. They got to get used to each other. They all have the same mindset, which is, win a World Series. So they'll figure it out. Well, they haven't figured it out yet.
I mean, 4.5 months into the season.
And we're August 9th.
Well, this goes back to, you kept Blake Snell and Josh Hader for a reason. The reason is to make the postseason. And since you decide to keep them, you've just you're not really losing ground, but you're losing. And you're not using Josh Hader. Now, I understand going down the path of trying to reward your fans and trying to see this thing through in the National League. I do understand it. And by the way, I'm not going to say the day after the season, I'm not going to say, told you so.
Right.
But it is going to be part of the conversation because
be.
they went further into their war chest and put more chips on the table for this 2023 team. Did they really deserve it? And was it something that they could track down or not? And with each passing day, it's like, man, Hader and Snell are still here. What impact could it have had on the 2024 team if you did move one of them? And we'll never know the answer to that.
Right. Because if they moved Hader, white flag.
No doubt. No doubt. You're right. That's how it would be seen. And they wouldn't be in a better spot, probably.
No.
It's not like you move Hader and all of a sudden you get red hot.
Right. So Preller and Seidler said, we're giving you guys this opportunity.
Yep.
We're giving you essentially kind of like a second chance. Not really, but you know what I mean? Like, we're giving you guys the opportunity to turn this thing around. Go do it.
Yeah.
And ever since then, it's like lose 3-4 to the Dodgers, get shut out last night. Okay. And they still, which is stupid. And I've said this, it's not about the record anymore. It's about the games back. It's the longer that goes on, the worse off it's going to become. And then it won't matter anymore. Right. Cause if you're like 9 games under 500 and you're like 5 games back, you're a bad team. You're not going to make a push. I mean, you're a bad team if that happened, but the 4 games back part, being 4 games under 500 is it's crazy to me because the Padres aren't a good baseball team. They're average at best, and they're still within striking distance.
But that's why it is now or never. Because to your point, if they do get to the point where they're 6 under, 8 under, 6 out, 8 out, we're getting very close to the threshold of what is doable,
right?
Which means they need to do it starting tonight. JD Wicker will join us, San Diego State's AD at 5 p.m. David J. MadFriars.com will join us coming up at 5:30. We'll give away Godsmack tickets on the other side, plus more jokes at the expense of what Major League franchise? We'll share with you next. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, JD Wicker at 5 p.m. We've got Godsmack tickets to give away. We'll do that in a few minutes. We're going to hear another announcer make fun of the Orioles and what's happening with Kevin Brown. Speaking of JD Wicker, I'm reminded of being in Lahaina, Maui this past November.
Yeah.
Prayers for Hawaiians and
gosh.
for Maui and for Lahaina. This is a town of 12,000.
Dude.
That is an unbelievable place. One of the great places one of the most scenic places in the world. This was spectacular. I had never been there. A lot of Aztec fans have been there to see San Diego State in the Maui Invitational. I mean, prayers with everyone affected by these unbelievable wildfires. I don't know what Lahaina is going to look like. This was a very quaint, small, coastal Hawaiian town that was ripped apart by an unbelievable wildfire within the last 24 hours.
I've never been to Hawaii before. It's going to be where me and Aaron go on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
But just seeing the carnage of wildfires and knowing firsthand.
And we know in California.
Exactly.
We know in the West.
My hometown back in 2017, my house was like a half a mile away from wildfires.
Wow. And
it was like my old house that I grew up in. The house across the street from us burned down. So wildfires, they're the worst. Nothing but prayers for everybody in that area in Hawaii. Yeah, man, that's just, I hate wildfires. I hate it.
And by the way, something that pales completely in comparison to human life and the toll that wildfires can take on property and everything in the rebuild process. The Maui Invitational did comment on Instagram saying, we're thinking about those affected. We don't know about our event. I don't know if the Lahaina Civic Center has been impacted, which is where they house the Maui Invitational. But again, our prayers and thoughts are with the people of Hawaii today dealing with those wildfires. Okay, so no real good segue to then have Chip Caray make fun of the Baltimore Orioles, but we'll do it anyway. Chip Caray, who is now with
the Cardinals.
The Carays have been everywhere, right, over the years. I mean, they're a punching bag, Baltimore, are they not?
They are right now. And it sucks because, looking at this objectively, the Orioles are having quietly one of the best seasons in franchise history for that team.
Right.
And they're one of the best teams in baseball. And their overall payroll isn't crazy, right? It's, I think, maybe around 100. I mean, I don't know exactly, but it's not a crazy number. And yet they're one of the best teams in baseball. And what's happened with Kevin Brown, the last night with the chants from Orioles fans at Comerica Park saying "Free Kevin Brown."
I think we have that sound.
Do we have that, Brent?
It's amazing,
dude.
This is called really bad PR. Like to box something this poorly, where your fan base is chanting in unison against your own owner.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's the rumor too that they ordered the PA guy to turn down their crowd mic so you couldn't hear it
on the radio broadcast.
Yeah.
Like, how can you be such a soft organization?
What are we talking about? Just say it. You've been bad. Like, it's great. You're now good.
Yes, you should be. You should be praised for saying these things and doing these things.
People love the worst to first type team.
Yeah.
People love like the Major League. Hey, the Cleveland Indians. They were bad. Now they're good. That's a good story.
As I was watching the Padres game last night, all I was thinking to myself was, Don and Mudd would have been suspended 45 times tonight
if they were down 2-0.
If they were part of the Orioles, because there was Scanlon suspended, Bob Orsillo suspended,
right?
Mudd suspended just for doing their jobs.
Dude,
like
you'd be suspended.
That's all. I would be suspended
for life.
2 seconds.
I think within 2 seconds. Seriously,
literally.
For life. Now, Brent's trying to do two things at once. Can we hear from, this is Chip Caray,
this is so
Cardinals television last night.
I think the big challenge for the Rays going forward, Brad, is they're playing in the East where they've lost, I think, 270 consecutive games to the Orioles. But only 3 games back, they're going to be without Shane McClanahan, who we were told right before game time today, it's unlikely he's going to pitch again this season as he tries to sort out a forearm problem.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult for them. And, look, the Orioles are playing good baseball. They can do no wrong at this point.
They can do no wrong.
They've lost, 270 straight games. They were trying to pump up
Well, you can't say anything negative about the Orioles for fear of your job.
Right.
Jason Benetti with the White Sox did something similar. Caray, we heard from Gary Cohen, Mets TV. I mean, literally every broadcast team has gotten involved in this.
Every team.
Like every team.
Because like we talked about yesterday, you know, the broadcaster, like
it's like a fraternity.
It's a fraternity.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody. Every
I
time
know them all.
You know everybody. You're like, oh, I worked with them in the minors for like 25 years.
Right.
Like, what? So they all stick together. You guys stick together.
Mm-hmm.
And when this happens to a fellow broadcaster where he was doing his job, it triggers former and current broadcasters because you're like, oh my God, if he got suspended for just doing his job, what could possibly happen to me if I'm put in that same situation where I'm like just doing my job?
What I'm fascinated about is what happens on the other side. When Kevin comes on the air from T-Mobile Park in Seattle on Friday, I think.
He's like, the Orioles suck.
Yeah, I mean, right. What's your open? I mean, it's a pretty large elephant in the room, is it not? I think it has to be addressed. And then also, before he gets on the air, does he talk with the organization about, hey, listen, do I have carte blanche here?
Like, what do I say?
Or do I have to now like cater to what you're asking me to be? I mean, and by the way, anyone that's heard this or watched this or listened to this, he said nothing.
No.
In any manner that could be deemed negative.
What happened last night with the Orioles playing the Houston Astros when they gave up 4 runs, the Orioles in the 9th inning, to lose that game 7-6? Were the announcers for the team like, well, so yeah, how's everybody's days going? Like,
right. What
did
they say after that?
Yeah.
We didn't win.
We didn't.
We'll be back with post-game coverage after this.
The other team scored more runs than the Orioles.
We didn't lose.
They didn't lose. They didn't lose.
We didn't win, though.
But didn't win, though.
Caller 7 right now. You've got 2 free tickets to see Godsmack at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on August 27th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Great giveaway. Caller 7 to 844-570-1360. You have 2 free tickets to see Godsmack later this month at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. It's August 27th. The number to call, 844-570-1360. More info at Ticketmaster.com. On the other side, hour 2, including the wrap, we'll give away tickets to see Dierks Bentley in the 4 o'clock hour. JD Wicker at 5 p.m. San Diego State's athletic director. Stay with us on John and Jim. All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It is hour 2 of John and Jim, and this hour we will give away tickets to see Dierks Bentley at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. This is August 18th, which is just over a week away. More info at Ticketmaster.com. We'll do that during Trainwreck Radio. By the way, we are back on YouTube for day 2. Thank you to our listeners, of course, on San Diego Sports 760.
Yeah.
iHeartRadio app. Those of you on YouTube, day number 2. Please subscribe, by the way. If you're looking for more ways to find what we do day in and day out, maybe you're in the office part of the day, you're in the car the other part of the day, find us on YouTube, right? Or find us on the iHeartRadio app, or find us on San Diego Sports 760. There's a lot of places you can find us. And thank you to those that have already kind of found a way to find us with our brand new YouTube channel.
Yeah, there's multiple ways to consume us now. That sounds kind of odd.
Very weird.
Very weird.
Very weird.
Consume me.
You are super weird, man.
But you get what I'm saying. There's multiple ways now to watch us, listen to us, whatever you want to do. If you're sitting in your house, you can watch us on your television. If you're going and driving around, obviously on the radio. If you go outside for like a run or something, you can turn on the iHeartRadio app. There's just so many ways to watch us now. If you're at work and you want to see our faces, I guess. How you doing?
Hi,
YouTube. Then you can watch us and we can distract you from your work.
Okay, there's a couple of things we want to get to. There's no question about it. We can distract you potentially. JD Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director, think about the last year. And from building, the completion of Snapdragon Stadium to conference realignment to the upcoming football season to the men's basketball team in the national championship game. There's been a lot. And JD Wicker will join us at 5 p.m. David J. on Ethan Salas and this minor league system. Ethan Salas, what a story. He's
Homer Bush Jr. making his debut last night in Lake Elsinore.
Saw that as well. So David J. MadFriars will join us coming up at 5:30. We'll get into a statement that the Mountain West released, by the way, earlier today as well, coming up at 4:30. But right now, let's get to this.
Do the TV networks have too much power in college athletics?
Yeah, they destroyed the Pac-12. They were a big reason why there is no more Pac-12 anymore. Plain and simple. End of discussion. Now, George Klokoff is also a big reason why as well. But, it's like the chicken egg thing, right? If the TV networks didn't have so much pull and say and so much money wasn't involved, would the Pac-12 and George Klokoff have destroyed this conference? I don't know.
And again, it's beyond George
Klokoff,
because there's also the previous commissioner, and there's a series of missteps that a lot of people have pointed out. But there is no question that TV is pulling the strings. I'll give you the perfect example here. The Oregon-Washington dynamic was basically, and I think this has essentially been said, was Fox calling the Big Ten and saying, we want them in the Big Ten.
Yeah, we want some more money. We got you.
And we're getting them for a little bit of pennies on the dollar. They're not getting the full share right away.
No.
So you're getting Oregon and Washington, big brands in large markets like Seattle and Portland, and they don't have to get Oregon State and Washington State. They're only paying for what they want. So I do think, I don't know if they're playing the only role, but they're playing a huge role in what we're seeing right now in college sports.
Yeah. For me, the glaring thing that shows they have too much power is the national, the playoff for the football is run by a network.
Yep.
Right.
It's not run by the colleges in any form. It's all run by a network. They choose who they want in there. And, it's no coincidence that they seem to side with, schools and conferences from TV networks that they also own. So I think for me, that's the glaring one, is that the quote national championship is decided by whoever a TV network wants to invite.
And what about the expanded playoff? Like, is it going to be a real expanded playoff like March Madness, or is it just going to be 12 teams from the SEC and the Big Ten in 3 years?
Pretty much what you just said there.
They have the at-large spots for the first couple of years, but we'll see about what it looks like moving forward. Next question.
Well, the Padres win 4 or more games in a row. Slow down.
Right.
This season, right? This season?
Yeah, this season.
Like in the history of the franchise again?
Ever
again?
Ever again.
Ever again.
I think ever again they will.
This year, I'm going to be positive and say yes. I still think they have at least one run in them. Albeit it might be like a mini run.
There's just like 4.
Like
not
there
5.
could be like just 4 straight wins and then that's it. But I do believe that it's impossible to think a team with this much talent fails to win more than 3 games in a row in a season.
You can eliminate with this much talent because all the other 29 teams have done it without their talent.
Yeah, the Royals and the A's have won more consecutive games in a row this year.
Nationals.
Than the Padres, the
Pirates,
Nationals,
all of them.
Pirates.
So do I think they win 4 or more in a row this season? Yeah, I do. But the question is, what do they do in the other 44 games? I said about a week ago, they can afford 1 3-game losing streak. And that's the one they're in the midst of right now. And I still believe that. I think they could still play good baseball, even with a 3-game losing streak. I don't think they can have another. Like, I really don't. I think if this thing goes from 3 to 6, they're going to be cooked. Yeah. Or if they win a game, but then lose, 3 or 4 in a row again at some point here in August, I just think it's going to be too big of a mountain to climb. Next question.
Will catching prospect Ethan Salas reach the majors in 2024?
He'd be 18 years old. 19 years old?
Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, you know what? What year is it?
It's 2023.
I kind of meant 2025.
So you meant when he would be a 19-year-old.
Exactly.
Okay. I'm going to say no right now, just because unless he is the next like Johnny Bench / Buster Posey / Pudge Rodriguez combined into one player, there has to be like, okay, you have to have a little seasoning in the minors before we get you in the big league level.
Okay, just look at it this way. What do you got, Brian?
His birthday's June 1st, so he would turn 18 during the season next year.
Next season he'll turn 18.
Yes.
The season after he'll turn 19. Okay, so if he does it in 2025 and it's after June 1st, he'll be 19 years of age. I mean, I think he's projecting. Let me give you the example. He'll finish this year in Advanced A. Even if he starts next year in Single A, but finishes next year in Double A. Okay, starts in A ball, finishes in Double A.
Yeah,
as an 18-year-old. Then he'll start 2025. Even if he starts in Double A, he'll be ticketed for Triple A potentially. And at that point, who knows? Like if they give him a cup of coffee potentially in September. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't guarantee it. I don't think he's going to have an impactful role for the Padres in 2025, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does appear for the Padres.
Well, if, Luis Campusano ever gets consistent playing time, even after going 4 for 4 in a game with 2 home runs, and I don't know, sees the field,
right?
It would be nice to, not really worry and push Ethan Salas to come to the big leagues maybe before he might be ready, and that you have a stable catching core there while he is fully developing. Like an Ethan, like a Luis Campusano behind the plate for the next couple of years. I'm at this point, like I'm all for it, and I'm totally cool with it. I want that to happen, and then it's not this like every single day we're talking about they need to bring Ethan Salas up, and then the organization crumbles under the pressure, which they've done, and they bring up Ethan Salas maybe before he's ready.
Oh, we'll get there eventually. It's kind of funny too when you look at like pictures of him in his catching gear and stuff like that, just about how young he is. It looks like someone, they're just like, hey, who put the bat boy in the catcher's gear?
Right. Dude, it's crazy.
Yeah, he looks like, we have Little League World Series on now. He looks like barely older than some of these kids.
I mean, this is one of one stuff. This is Pudge Rodriguez type stuff if he's up at 19.
Another Padre would be Benito Santiago.
Exactly.
Right.
It's been a while though. Next question.
Just a minute.
Yeah, just a couple. All right, guys. Manny is hitless in his last 3 games. Are you worried yet?
Yeah, they should cut him.
Yes.
DFA immediately and let him go on his
still
way.
owe like $330 million.
That's fine.
But it's been a bad 3 games. They're trying to prove a point in the clubhouse.
I'm done worrying about Manny. I was upset with Manny to start the year because it's like, dude, come on, man. You need to show up here. Like your team is struggling and you're the leader and captain. You need to help pull them out of this rut here. And then he went nuclear red hot for about a month and a half. He's cooled down for sure. But I won't put, Manny as far as like concern level close to the top for me. I'm not there with Manny.
Okay, so here's an interesting one for you. So Manny Machado is nowhere near his career number. So by his standards, it's disappointing.
Yeah.
He's got a 766 OPS.
It's a down year.
Xander Bogaerts is a 729. Manny Machado's OPS plus, okay, what it is compared to other major leaguers, 100 is the average. If you're higher than 100, you're better than average. If you're lower than 100, you're worse. He's 111. That's 11% better than average. They're paying a lot for 11% better than average. If you're wondering about Xander Bogaerts, he's 4% better than average. Hard to believe he's actually 4% better than average this year.
Xander Bogaerts has had I can't cuss on the radio,
right?
But just a god awful season.
2.3 WAR, 340 on base isn't
Xander?
good. Yeah, he's got a 340 on base. Machado's 313. So he finds his way on base. He has not had impactful hits.
A 340 on base is good. Like you take that.
It's okay.
You take it.
Yes, and that they'll take it.
It's like right around average, maybe a little above average.
Yeah, exactly.
But the fact that he is, by the way, hitting fifth again in tonight's lineup.
Right, I know.
2 RBIs since the start of July. I think July 5th. 2 RBIs. 2. Count them. 1, 2. That's it. It's just crazy.
You can't tell me he's been better than average this year.
No,
I'm with you. I know that, but I'm saying the stats. The stats say.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah, he had a nice April, but you can't.
The eye test
convince me. You can't convince me.
The eye test is the eye test.
I have to read this text, and you can always text the show 70470. Start it with team. You can always comment in the chat if you're with us on YouTube. 480. I love the text line. I love the text line for creating content. 480 says, "You soft media people, I guess that's us, crying about a broadcaster whose job is obsolete in the way to watch today's sports. Why do you need someone watch your eyes are seeing?" He says, "What your eyes are seeing. All the info you need is on the screen with any sport. The action sells, not somebody making noise on a mic. Best way to view sports is on mute with music on in the background. If you need play-by-play, it means you don't know sports. Host or listen to talk radio or are an idiot," is basically what he's saying. And I won't finish what he finished with. But what's the point? So you're mad at us because we're coming to the defense of Kevin Brown, who's a play-by-play broadcaster, and play-by-play broadcasters are stupid, and you're an idiot if you need a play-by-play broadcaster to watch sports. Okay. Interesting hot take.
Yeah,
we've been doing this for a good amount of time. That's a first.
That is a first.
People call for, hey, Peter Seidler sell the team. Hey, Bob Melvin should be fired.
Yeah, announcers are pointless.
Announcers have no value, and you're an idiot if you watch a game with the volume on. Interesting take.
Interesting. Yeah, I
thanks
like
for
that.
texting in.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
That's our buddy, though.
It is our buddy.
Is it?
Yeah, that's our. We're
Facts?
all we're all
Facts
zombies.
Guy?
No, that's
zombie guy. Thanks for listening as always. Thanks for listening.
Literally in the history of the text line, almost everything is like a reasonable text, and there's this guy. Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Like almost everything I can kind of see my way through.
Mhm.
Like I get it. If you're upset about the Padres, if you're upset about something here locally in San Diego, understood.
And we have
you're upset about people having jobs as play-by-play broadcasters.
And we get a ton of texts every single day, right? But that guy just happens to stand out as one that I just.
And I love when he's always
know.
like, you and your like zombie listeners. I'm like, you listen more than they do, dude.
You're glued to us.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you.
Yes, we do. We absolutely do. Coming up at 5 p.m., JD Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director, will join the show. Also, later this hour, your chance to win tickets to see Dierks Bentley at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. This is August 18th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. So the Padres play game 2 tonight, Jim, of this 2-game series. They lost last night to Logan Gilbert. We mentioned earlier they are facing a rookie starter who will make his major league debut, who's never pitched in AAA, let alone the big leagues. Now, he's a former first-round pick. I've said this before. And we have this story has been told. It's a story as old as the Padres.
Yeah.
A guy that doesn't have the experience but gets the job done. A game that the Padres need to win. They don't show up in. Emerson Hancock, right? Emerson Hancock, I think, is the pitcher tonight.
I almost want the Padres to face like Justin Verlander.
I know.
Over this guy. Because these are the type of pitchers that the Padres this year just fail horribly against.
You don't just have to say this year.
It feels like for a long time. Even going back to last year and 2 years ago in 2021, where they got no hit, and it was just like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Or they almost got no hit. I think it was.
By Arizona?
Yeah,
I thought they were no hit.
They were no hit,
and then they had like a team meeting, and then they got no hit.
Yeah.
Or was the team meeting before they got no hit?
No. Eric Hosmer called it for a team meeting, knowing that Fernando Tatis Jr. was returning the next day from a shoulder subluxation.
Yeah, he hit 2 home runs.
And he had 2 home runs, and it was like, oh, team meeting worked because
then they were terrible.
Tatis returned. Yeah, and then they just went in the crapper.
Yep.
Yeah.
Emerson Hancock, by the way, former 6th overall pick in the 2020 draft, has not pitched above AA. So you might say, well, he's got high accolades, and I don't care. right? I do not care. There's only one result for the Padres today. It's Yu Darvish opposite a guy who's never pitched above Double-A. There's only one result. You have to win, and you have to hit this kid. You just have to. This can't be 1-1 in the 8th. I mean, it can, and you scratch across the run and win. You would take it, but there's no excuse for that. There's no excuse for it. Oh, Seattle's a tough hitter's yard. I don't care.
You need to score early and often. You need to put pressure on, and you need to win tonight's game like 7-2. You just need to do that because you're going into a weekend series, which is a very crucial one against the Diamondbacks, where if you have a bad series against the Diamondbacks, like, dude, I don't want to go there because the Diamondbacks, if you lose 3 or 4 to the Diamondbacks this weekend.
Is it a 4-gamer?
It's a 4-game.
No, it's a 3-gamer.
Okay.
I think there's 4 games here.
You're right.
The following week.
But still, you gotta win tonight. In another must-win game. There's, like you said, there's been like 9 must-win games this year, and they've seemingly lost every single must-win game this season. But hey, in another must-win game tonight, go get them.
Yeah, I mean, at some point you run out of them. You really will. And at some point, they're just going to lose faith, unfortunately. And you kind of wonder, you don't have Musgrove anymore, and you're pitching. You got bullpen games. Is what you had 3 straight bullpen games, Jim. It wasn't the plan. Rich Hill, 3 innings, right?
Yeah.
Nick Martinez yesterday. I don't know how long he worked in that game.
3 innings, maybe?
It had to be at least, if not 4.
Pitched well.
So he did. So he gave you some innings. Did he go 4 innings?
Dude, he went 3 innings.
Okay, so he went 3. Who else was
Barlow.
in there? Avila might have made a start in that stretch.
Ray Kerr, who walked in.
No. But in the 3 games, did he make a start? Because you had Hill?
No, Hill, Lugo, and Martinez, these last 3 games.
Oh, right. Lugo got knocked around.
Avila pitched on Monday.
So you just had those 3 consecutive games where you got no length. And now Darvish has to be that guy. I mean, and why are you paying him the way you're paying him for the next 6 or 7 years? You have to be
million.
That guy. If it's Darvish, opposite a guy who's never pitched above Double-A, this is the must-win of must-wins. I really do feel that way.
Season on the break.
And we'll say the same thing tomorrow. Well, now they got to win 2 out of 3 in Phoenix. If they don't win, well, there's still only 4 back, Jim.
The battle for 3rd place this weekend.
Is that what it is? Yeah, because San Francisco's kind of run away with 2nd.
Well, San Francisco right now is currently, I want to say, 7 games ahead of the Padres.
They're 7 or 7.5.
They are 7 games. Phillies. The Phillies and Giants are now tied for the top wild card spot.
Right.
So the Padres are 7 games back of the top wild card spot.
Yeah.
In the National League, 4 games back of Chicago and Miami. Miami won 2 straight. They beat Cincinnati. Our boy Josh Bell had 2 home runs today.
Okay.
For Miami. So yeah, you got to beat Arizona, which have lost 7 straight. They're now 500. First time I think all year they're 500.
The thing that I'm tracking, how like you ever go to an amusement park or actually maybe even a casino? Those are different places.
Are you asking me if I've ever been to your amusement park, which was like sports?
That would be an amazing amusement park, and we could talk about that another time. Imagine an amusement park that was all like sports rides. It would be incredible. Okay, like Niners the ride. I don't know what it would be, but it would be good. But you've ever been to like a casino?
Get an ambulance ride with Jimmy G on the way to the hospital.
That would be the ride.
Yeah, all your quarterbacks get hurt.
Those like casino games where like the horses are moving like on the track, and you've like placed a bet, and then like plastic horses go around the track. Oh, like horse 2 won.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at one other horse. It's the Cubs. Because we've talked, Marlins aren't good. Oh, Diamondbacks aren't good. Even if you want to say, Padres aren't good, the horse that's made its move is the 16-4 Cubs.
Yeah.
And you've been like, I think Kevin had it today. You're actually 11-9 over your last 20 games. So they're 16-4. You've lost 5 games to the Cubs. You've made up ground on everyone else. It's like, if you're going to do this thing, beating the Diamondbacks is going to be nice, or beating the Marlins is going to be nice, but you got to go track down the Cubs, who are winning again tonight. It's early against the Mets. They are 16-4 in their last 20 games. It's like you lose track of the Cubs, and they do this again for another week, and your horse can't catch up.
And you're like 8 games back with 40 to go.
So go beat Emerson Hancock.
Please, for the love of God,
please
beat Emerson Hancock.
The Cubs are playing the Mets right now, but after the Mets, they got 3 against the Blue Jays, 2 against the White Sox, and then they got the ever-challenging Royals.
Interesting.
So, wow. Well, guess what? The Padres have...
then Detroit. So
perfect. So the Padres, they have who? The Baltimore
now
Orioles.
it's even more must-winnier.
Right.
The Padres after this weekend, they have. Let's pull this up here. Yeah, you got Baltimore, then Arizona, then Miami, Milwaukee on the road, St. Louis, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Houston, Dodgers.
Yeah, but it doesn't. But that to me doesn't tell the whole story because Arizona, 7 of those games, bad.
Right, they're bad.
Miami, 3 of those games, bad. St. Louis, 3 of those games, bad. Now we'll see how they play against those teams.
So take advantage.
Exactly.
But guess what? Padres also bad.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's been the problem.
Right.
All right, here's what we're going to do this hour during Trainwreck Radio. Coming up in about 20 minutes, you've got a chance to win a pair of tickets to see Dierks Bentley. This is at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater on August 18th. More info is available at Ticketmaster.com. We mentioned the fact that JD Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director, he will join the show today at 5 p.m. David J. MadFriars.com will join us coming up at 5:30. On the other side, and we'll get into this with JD Wicker coming up at 5, the Mountain West has released a statement today, not on realignment, but on alignment.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Okay, so the Mountain West has spoken. What does the Mountain West future look like? Will it include San Diego State or not in the short term, medium term, long term? We'll get into that again with JD Wicker coming up at 5 p.m. But the Mountain West issues a statement. We will react, plus your chance to win again tickets to see Dierks Bentley August 18th at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Stay with us. You're listening to John and Jim. Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director, will join us at 5 o'clock. David J. MadFriars at 5:30. 631 on the text line, Jim. Just wanted to mention, I was driving through Arizona yesterday, and I heard you guys in 760 from Yuma.
Let's go.
So how cool is that? And that's the thing we've said. Has it been even a year? No, September 1st?
September 1st is when we started 760.
760. I'm still saying all new 760. I'll probably stop at September 1st.
Because you do it for just like 1 year.
I feel like I can do it for a year.
It's 167 miles.
It's pretty cool. I mean, that's
signal, though.
The one thing with 760 that we always said, it's like, it's amazing. You got people in Mexico, right? That we're reaching. You got people in Orange and LA counties.
Yep.
Of course, San Diego County. And you got people, like towards Padres spring training and in Arizona. And at night, even further reaches, right? Up the coast and down the coast.
It's nice to have a big signal, big stick, so to say.
Yeah.
I done.
No doubt. Well, you got it. And also, of course, if you're
that big stick,
you can listen on San Diego Sports 760. You can listen from anywhere, by the way, on the iHeartRadio app. You can watch from anywhere, by the way, on YouTube. We launched our brand new YouTube channel just yesterday. You can find us there by searching for John and Jim 760. All right, the Mountain West today, and we'll talk to JD Wicker about this coming up at 5 p.m. They put out a statement on conference alignment, which is such an interesting word because all we hear is realignment.
I had to do a double take.
Like, what's alignment?
I'm like, is that new?
What's that mean?
Have I been saying it this wrong the whole time?
You have not, but it means, I guess, they're aligned. So let me read it. Monday night, the Mountain West Board of Directors met to reaffirm our collective commitment to the conference and its future. With the recent changes in membership composition in several conferences, the Mountain West is exploring all opportunities to strengthen the league, including through the addition of new member schools. Board of Directors Chair President, the President of the University of New Mexico, and Commissioner Gloria Navarez will be the voice of the conference and will lead the ongoing explorations of possibilities before presenting any to the board. We are strong in who we are and proud of the exceptional experience we provide the student athletes of the Mountain West Conference. Did this at all catch you off guard that they would come out with this statement? Now, this is with everything going on in the backdrop of the Pac-12, which is down to 4. We had the article written yesterday by Dennis Dodd, which was refuted by JD Wicker in a statement that CBS published a portion of and JD Wicker put on social media. And then you've got, by the way, did you even see that? That Brett McMurphy, did you see what Brett McMurphy tweeted today?
No.
That Notre Dame is in the corner of Stanford and Cal, trying to get them both into the ACC. Notre Dame and Stanford, longtime rivals in football.
Yeah.
I think Stanford and Cal are going to the ACC. I don't think it makes any sense, but I think they're going to the ACC. So I guess what they might be saying here, Jim, is that, hey, Washington State and Oregon State, when all the dominoes fall, Washington State and Oregon State might be available to us. And if that's the case, we'll explore expansion. I mean, how do you see this?
Well, if they explore expansion and you're Washington State, like in Cal or Stanford or Oregon State, what does it mean for their Power 5 conference as far as like that go? Like you're going down to a not like a lesser league. You're going down to a league that doesn't have the automatic berth for a college football playoff.
Less money, non-power, less access.
5. Yeah.
Right.
So why would they do that?
Why would they do that? What other choice do they have? Now, Stanford and Cal may have choices. They could end up potentially in the ACC. There's some that believe they could still end up in the Big Ten for pennies on the dollar. They could pursue independence. I don't really see it. Independent in football. Who are you going to play?
Yeah.
But Oregon State and Washington State, Jim, what options do they have? Big Ten ain't picking up the phone, unfortunately.
I know.
ACC,
or Big 12.
I don't think anyone's picking up the phone for them, which could be to the benefit, like we said, during the fusion when SC and Cal left for the Big Ten, could ultimately be to the benefit of San Diego State. You'd be in a league with Washington State and Oregon State in the West, right? Geographically aligned, brands that have had success in football specifically, at times men's basketball. Oregon State was in the Elite Eight during the COVID year. So we'll see, and we could talk to JD Wicker about it. He spent 10 years, by the way, in Pullman at Wazoo before he came, I think, to the Mason in 2011 for a first time. So I don't know what to make of it. I do know this idea, and we can talk to JD about it. This idea, it sounds good in theory. Snap your fingers. Washington State, Oregon State, Cal, Stanford, San Diego State, Boise State, Fresno State. I'm making it up. SMU, Memphis, Tulane, right? Like the top of the remaining group, this best of the rest, theoretically sounds good, but it involves, money and politics and maneuvering. And I don't know if you can do all that.
Yeah, I don't know either. But we do know is money rules all. So if there is opportunity for more money here, that's going to be what will be explored first. Because that's what happens when things change, when big time money is involved. We just saw an entire conference get destroyed because of money.
Isn't that amazing? Or because of TV, which is driven by money.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, in theory, it all sounds great. Like, oh, yeah, this goes here, this goes here. But to get to that point, it feels like it's a difficult task.
And by the way, JD Wicker, and I've said this since day one, and I know you agree, but he's been on with us how many times in the last year?
Handful?
More.
More.
I mean, and I have maybe I say that, by the way, Jim, because I've had him every Saturday during football season last year.
John and Jim, I would say handful and a half.
At least. I mean, it's been 7-8 times in a year. It could be more than that. And then with the Saturdays, I've talked to him publicly on radio 25 times, probably in the last year. He's been nothing but, you have too, though, is my point.
Just kidding.
But he's been nothing but transparent. And and by the way, his statement yesterday after the Dennis Dodd article said, we've been talking to people before the implosion of the Pac-12 and after. So like that's in plain sight. He's not saying we're done. We have no desires. Like that. It's not like the messaging for the last year has been like, we would never leave the Mountain West. Why would you think that of us?
They've been very transparent and open about that.
Completely.
Like, I even remember JD, I forget where he said this, but you'll remember.
Okay.
Where he flat out said, yeah, we believe that we will be in a Power 5 league very, very soon.
Yeah, I think, and that might be paraphrasing to your point. I think in some way or another, probably to.
No, he
did he say to us?
Like, no, it wasn't to us.
Okay.
I think we had him on, and I think the next day he went on somewhere else, and it got in print. It was in print where it said, we believe that we will be in a Power 5 league.
Or did Big Rich, Titty, and Fletch get that out of him?
No, they didn't.
Was it
no.
the Darren Smith show?
It was not the Darren Smith show.
Okay, it was in print.
It was in print.
Okay. Yeah. Again, he's been transparent with it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this stuff is like, again, cloak of darkness, right? Middle of the night. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the Baltimore Colts.
Tell us everything you're doing. Because if you don't tell us everything you're doing, then you're not transparent enough.
The funny thing about that, Jim, is nobody's transparent about it. If you look at all the other schools, when did you hear Oregon talking publicly about wanting to leave for the Big Ten? Never. Not one time publicly did they ever say that.
When did we ever hear about USC and UCLA wanting to go to the Big Ten?
Never.
Until it actually happened.
Never.
I feel like San Diego State's been talking about going to a Power 5 for the last year.
Yeah, and then they'll still get criticized. Oh, well, they've been too public with it.
And why I think fans and maybe people that don't understand are upset is because now this wasn't a promise by San Diego State. Like they didn't come out and say, we promise that we will be in a Power 5, right?
But they aspired to it.
Yeah, they aspired to it. And why I think fans of San Diego State could be upset, or people that don't understand this whole thing are upset, is because as of right now, they're not going to a Power 5 because the Pac-12 died. And so to them, the people that don't understand, they're like, well, you said that we were going to be in a Power 5 and now we're not. This is all your fault.
Right. Well, we didn't know one of them would literally cease to exist.
Yeah.
It's like, what is it? Control the controllables.
And again,
it's kind of out of their control.
To explain it to people that don't understand, JD Wicker can't call up the Big 12 or the Pac-12 when it was still existing and say, hey, we want an invite. Oh, okay, cool. Like, well, you have to wait. Like, we want an invite now. Okay, well, we're not giving it to you. You know, that's what people are not understanding, is that JD can't just call up and be like, okay, we'll take our invite now.
It doesn't work like that.
No.
But we will talk with JD about how it does work, and he will join us coming up at 5 p.m. All right, on the other side, we're both reacting to the chat. On the other side, we will give away a pair of tickets to see Dirk Bentley at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. It is August 18th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. By the way, Margie in the chat, because we're transparent too, says this is such a boring topic. Nobody wants San Diego State in their conference. All right. JD Wicker will join us coming up at 5 p.m. On the other side, call right now if you want a pair of tickets to see Dierks Bentley, 844-570-1360. First two callers will be our contestants for Trainwreck Radio. That's trivia. You need to call right now. It's a great prize. It's Dierks Bentley at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 18th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Call right now, 844-570-1360. Again, the number to call, 844-570-1360. JD Wicker at 5 p.m. Stay with us. All right, JD Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director. He will join us coming up at 5 p.m. David J. MadFriars. Ethan Salas is in High A, advanced day with Fort Wayne. You said he already had a hit. Was that last night or today?
That was today.
Oh, was it? Oh, that's right, because they played at 3:30 Pacific, so they're underway.
Then Homer Bush Jr., the Padres draft pick.
Right.
I think a first-round draft pick, correct?
Was he first? Was he first or second round? It was a high pick.
It was a high pick, yeah. It's a high pick. He got promoted to Lake Elsinore.
So he's in the Cal League now. So he's in low A.
He's in low. He made his professional debut last night.
Gotcha. All right. A lot going on there.
And he had a hit and a really nice catch in left field.
For the issues at the big league level, there are a lot of things to be excited about. I mean, there really are. Ethan Salas we'll see. Again, there's a long way between high A and the major leagues, but there's reasons for excitement, at least with Salas and others in the system. What do you have,
Homer
Brent?
Bush is 4th round.
4th round. All right. That's a high pick.
It's a high pick.
Yeah, definitely a high pick. So we'll talk with David J. coming up at 5:30. Okay, so again, JD Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director. Right now, let's play for some tickets.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's contestants, we have Ron and we have Tommy. Ron, you called in first, so you have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with?
I'll go with Jim.
All right, so that's Ron.
Let's go, Ron.
Ron with Jim.
Yeah, Tommy with John. You good there, Tommy?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah,
You guys could have your own surgery.
Let's do it.
Yeah, Tommy John. That's a good idea.
Oh, there we go. I like that.
it.
Brent, what's the question?
My computer's freezing. All right, guys, today's question. Can you name the top 10 players with the highest on-base percentage this year in the major leagues? So we're looking for top 10 players with the highest on-base percentage this year in the majors.
All right. So Tommy is up first. Tommy, what's your first guess? You still have your lifeline, or you have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Okay, for that, I'm going to go with Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts. Top 10 on base percentage?
Not a bad guess. Not a bad guess.
Is he on the list or not? He is.
On the list.
He's had a really good year.
Yeah, he has. He could be top 5 MVP candidate
Absolutely.
for sure. Ron, you're up next. What is your first guess? And you do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
It's got to be current.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. As of heading into today's action.
Yes.
I
right?
don't think Babe Ruth is going to make the cut.
Babe Ruth would be on the list maybe.
Or
Ty Cobb.
or Ted Williams.
Right.
Yeah.
On base percentage.
You can use your lifeline if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go last one.
Okay. Juan Soto, do you take that?
Yeah.
Okay. He's like, nah, I don't want to take
I wasn't
it.
sure at first he laughed.
Where is he, by the way, right now in baseball?
Third.
Third. Okay, I thought he might be second. Okay, pretty good though.
All right, Tommy, you're up next. What is your second guess? You do have your lifeline if you choose to use it.
No front and give me that lifeline.
Okay. What do you got, John?
Luis Arraez, Miami.
Luis Arraez. Do you take that, Tommy?
Oh, for sure. John's the baseball aficionado.
He's hitting 380, 375, and he's on the list.
He's winning the batting title this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Ron, you're up next. You don't have your lifeline.
369.
So
whatever.
Nice. So this is up to you, Ron. What's your second guess?
How
5 seconds.
about Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei, top 10.
On
yeah.
the list. There we go. Good job,
guess.
Ron. Took you a little bit, but we got there. Tommy, final guess. What do you got? You do not have your lifeline.
Ooh, that was clutch. What about Jose Ramirez? I know he at least connected once this time.
Jose Ramirez of the Guardians.
No, not on the list. He has a mean right hook, but
yes.
On base percentage, not so much this year. Ron, you could win this thing with a correct answer here. What is your final guess? You don't have your lifeline, so it's all up to you.
How about Ronald Acuna Jr.?
Ronald Acuna Jr. for the win.
Wow,
Boom!
just like that, a walk-off.
Wow, I was kind of scared there
I
for a
was too.
second.
That's a
I was
very
like,
good guess.
I was like, Ron is
Is he
starting
first?
He's got to be first.
Yeah, he's number one.
Yeah,
in
he
baseball.
leads the league in OPS too. So, wow, Ron used the lifeline first up, and then he ended up winning.
It's almost like he had the internet. All right, so who's on this list?
All right, Acuna is number one. Freddie Freeman is number two. Soto's three. Arnaz is four. Shohei is five. Let's see. Yandy Diaz is six. Lamont Wade Jr. is seven. Mookie is eight. Will Smith, there's a lot of Dodgers on this list, is number nine. And, maybe you've heard of him, this HS Kim guy.
Ha-Sung Kim is top 10 in
Kim.
baseball and on base percentage. Wow. What a year. All right, congratulations to Ron and Team Jim. As you guys have collectively won, maybe you can go together. A pair of tickets to see Dierks Bentley at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. This is August 18th. More info at Ticketmaster.com. Trainwreck Radio. Not bad.
It wasn't as big of a train wreck as it could have been.
It could have been a train
I
wreck.
thought it was going to be a disaster today.
I did too. For some, I'm not sure why I thought that.
I just, had a feeling, and I'm glad that feeling was wrong.
All right, the 5 o'clock hour is an hour you're not going to want to miss. JD Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director, he will join us at 5 p.m., so in about 6 or 7 minutes. At 5:30, David J. from MadFriars.com on the promotion of Ethan Salas to Advanced Day Baseball and much, much more going on in the system. Plus, Jim's back page still ahead in the 5 o'clock hour. We're going to get to our final hour of John and Jim here on this Wednesday afternoon. It's next. Don't go anywhere. All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? It's hour 3 of John and Jim. We're excited to catch up with San Diego State's athletic director, JD Wicker. Also in 30 minutes, David J. from MadFriars on the state of the Padres organization. JD, it's always great. We always appreciate your time here on San Diego Sports 760 and John and Jim. And I hope you're doing well, and thanks for doing it today.
Yeah, no, appreciate the time. Always good to catch up. And, sports starts here shortly. We've football's going, volleyball's going, the soccer's are going. So we will be playing Aztec athletics here shortly.
I know it's back. We're back in August. We have football in just over 2 weeks. So, JD, just from your seat and perspective, what's it been like for you to watch what's happened with realignment specific to the Pac-12 conference over the course of the last week?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously been a quite the roller coaster. Disappointing, certainly on, a lot of different levels. Sitting there waiting on Friday morning as the Pac-12 was, had their 7 a.m. meeting, and, it seemed like at that point things were headed in a good direction with a grant of rights. And if a grant of rights got signed, then that would have been followed by a vote on the Aztecs to the Pac-12, and that had been basically approved already. So it's kind of just a function of what you had to do. And, in the matter of about 15 or 20 minutes, it kind of blew up. And, now we're where we're at with, student athletes flying all over the country to compete. And I'm not sure that that's the best thing for our student athletes, but something that, is kind of the reality right now. So since Friday, we have, been doing a lot of work on, what the next steps are for San Diego State.
And, it seems like you were all ready to go on Friday afternoon or Friday morning, excuse me, for a potential invite from the Pac-12. So when that happened, when you did not get that invite, obviously because the Pac-12 kind of dissolved and almost every school left either the Big 10 or the Big 12, what was the mindset at that moment? And how quickly have you guys had to pivot here? How quickly did you pivot on Friday? All right, what's next for us?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing is we're members of the Mountain West Conference, and we were members of the Mountain West Conference, Friday morning before all of that happened. So, I mean, we're in a very good place. We've been very successful in the Mountain West Conference. We won numerous football titles, looking to, for a good season this year and, add another one. And then obviously men's basketball with the national title game, softball, one win away from the College World Series, swim and dive and golf winning championships. So we're in a spot where we know that we can be successful. We've obviously been working with, all that's out there on the landscape. Obviously there's some Pac-12 schools that need to figure out what they're going to do. And, as the commissioner has talked about and others, is that, flying under the Pac-12 banner, is that flying under the Mountain West Conference banner. And so, yeah, we've just been continuing to do our due diligence, like we've been, lots of phone calls, lots of text messages with various people trying to figure out, what those next steps are.
All right, San Diego State's athletic director, JD Wicker, with us right now on John and Jim. I'm curious. I want to go back because, JD, you spent a decade at Washington State, right? I mean, you were there for the better part of 10 plus years. So, and you've been on both sides. You've worked in the Power Five. You've worked in the Group of Five, obviously. To see what's going on right now with Washington State specifically, what's that like from your perspective with all that experience you had in Pullman?
Yeah, I really feel for Oregon State and Washington State. I mean, both, institutions and, true college towns, and, being a part of the, those conferences was a big deal. And, they don't have the, large DMA or TV footprint to fall back on. And, this, what happened this past week with realignment, should be, if you're an athletic department sitting in a small town, whether that's in, Mississippi, Iowa, or Washington, that's something to definitely pay attention to. But, Washington State and, basically all four, depending on where, things land, are going to have some really hard decisions. And it's really sad because, that's a lot of revenue that, they're potentially about to lose, and that impacts people's lives. That impacts the town itself. So it was really sad to see, and I really feel for my friends still up in Portland.
Could you see the Pac-12 being salvaged in your opinion, or is that now gone?
No, I mean, there's a lot of due diligence to do. What are the assets and liabilities of the Pac-12? There's a lot there, obviously, a lot of great things. It's got great brand recognition. But there's a lot of due diligence that has to be done, and lots of folks at the conference level and various conferences looking at that and trying to figure that out.
JD Wicker with us right now, John and Jim, the all-new San Diego Sports 760. You kind of just alluded to this with the small towns, how television maybe is really driving the bus here. From a TV perspective or from a conference realignment perspective, JD, from your seat, how much of this is about television, and how do TV executives view San Diego, this market, San Diego State, and some of the viewership numbers that come in the revenue sports like football and men's basketball?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fairly obvious that TV is driving this and the dollars that come from, television opportunities. So I think, that's pretty much the answer to that. San Diego State sitting in, San Diego, 27th, 28th largest DMA, which is number of TV sets, over 1 million TV sets. Obviously, we've shown that we can have success and we can draw viewership. So we're certainly attractive. It's just, figuring out where is that right fit at this point. And one of our challenges, even being in that market being in this market, having not been a Power Five. I mean, that's as you look at the Big 12. The Big 12's first move was always to get the four corner schools, and they were always going to wait to see what the Pac-12 did. And if they couldn't get the four corner schools, then they would go to Plan B. So lots of conversations with them, but once they got the four corner schools, and their television partners were very happy with that, then that's kind of where they sit right now.
JD, do you feel like coast to coast travel for athletic departments now is sustainable in this climate of college athletics?
No. I mean, with football's so different from most sports.
Mm-hmm.
We'll play, I think, 5 road games and 7 home games this year. So if you're traveling across the country or halfway across the country 4 or 5 times over 3 months, it's not as big a deal as, say, if you're, it's your baseball team, your basketball team, where they're going every other week. So it's going to be really interesting to watch how this plays out for a lot of schools. One, it's expensive. I think you saw some student athletes out there talking about their mental health, their academic piece. So there's going to be a lot of work that has to be done by athletic departments to make sure the student athletes, are having a great experience. So, football flying across the country, not as big a deal as maybe some of your other sports. So that will take a lot of due diligence for those schools to, make that work in a fashion that is best for their student athletes.
JD Wicker with us right now, and John and Jim, the all-new San Diego Sports 760. I know Brian Dutcher has talked about this previously, and I think he was quoted by John Rothstein recently this week, talking about kind of like he sees conferences, or he believes the conferences should just work out geographically. Do you feel as if geographically that could be a recruiting advantage, even against Power 5 schools? Let's say, for example, a Cal is in the ACC, or some other West Coast schools are playing in State College and College Park, Maryland. Could the fact that San Diego State isn't making those trips in other sports be advantageous from a recruiting perspective, just geographically?
Yeah, I do think we'll see, an uptick in the ability to keep West Coast kids on the West Coast.
Right.
Because not only are they not, the other piece of it is, how is my family going to get to, see me play as often as they may want to see me? They can't, it's so, depending on where you're at on the West Coast, it could be a drive to see your kid play in a weekend series or something like that. If you're, flying across the country, that's going to be a little harder to do. So I think it will have a positive impact on San Diego State from a recruiting standpoint.
All right. So JD Wicker again with us on John and Jim. How do you deal with, there's so many rumors with conference realignment. It's covered almost like it's a college sport, and it just goes on and on and on. Rumors. Some are from affiliated media members, others from, social media accounts. And what's just your reaction in general to the way that realignment is covered?
Obviously there's been a lot of, disinformation, maybe not factual. And then, obviously if you saw yesterday, some of it's just outright lies and falsehoods. And, very unhappy about the article that, Dennis Dodd and CBS put out yesterday because it's not true. They know that and have continued to work on it. But yeah, there's a lot of disinformation that's out there. There's certain reporters that do great due diligence and report things that are, accurate, but a lot of what you see, especially on Twitter, don't put a whole lot of faith in it.
In regards to that Dennis Dodd piece, JD, you originally quote tweeted it, said that this was misinformation, it was fake, and then you came out a little later and released a statement about it. Why did you feel like you needed to release a statement to refute that?
I just want, there needs to be, what's the reason that it's fake news? You just can't come out and say it's fake news and just leave it. And people are like, well, what's fake in it?
Right.
So, and I wanted to be very specific of, what we had not done. And, I'm not sure who's out, talking about that or doing that. And, is it trying to undermine San Diego State, or they truly don't understand what's going on and they're going off of their own rumor and hearsay? But I'm tired of things not being accurate. And, I was going to set the, and it also painted my president in a very bad light. And that's not fair because she didn't do that.
Yeah. And again, as I've said a lot here, it's like the transparency that you have shown, the president has shown, oftentimes you don't get that, by the way, with conference realignment. JD Wicker's with us right now on John and Jim. We saw obviously the Mountain West puts out a statement today regarding alignment, so to speak. What kind of options is the Mountain West potentially looking at? You mentioned it, there could be a merger potentially. Who knows what name the league flies under? Are we kind of waiting on Cal Stanford to then see what happens with Oregon State, Washington State, or what's next here in your opinion?
Yeah, there's definitely some dominoes that have to fall, and are Cal and Stanford going to consider a West Coast conference? One of the West Coast conferences here, the Mountain West, or what exactly are they going to do? And then you move forward from there. Again, the Mountain West is the best G5 conference now that the American has lost a bunch of schools to the Big 12. We've got the opportunity to, pretty much year in and year out, get that CFP spot in the new 12-team playoff that's going to go to one of the G5 schools. So it is a great landing place at this point. Like I said, we've shown that we can certainly, make it to the highest levels of NCAA competition from the Mountain West Conference. So as we look at all the different elements, if we can strengthen the Mountain West Conference and make it better, then we'll certainly try to do that.
So JD, when the group of five, will the group of five continue to have a seat at the table, when the college football playoff contract is renegotiated for the 2026 season? Do you believe that?
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll have, it's, 5 leagues. That's a lot of teams. And yeah, I think we will definitely have a seat at the table to, be able and, have at least one slot that's guaranteed out of those 5 conferences. And then you've got to compete for the rest of it.
JD Wicker with us right now on John and Jim. People have asked, I've seen it a little bit on social media, JD. We've gotten it on our text line today. The impact on your men's soccer and women's lacrosse programs, right? Because both have been members of the Pac-12 conference. Lacrosse about to be a member, in fact, of the Pac-12 conference as an affiliate member. What's the impact here on men's soccer and women's lacrosse?
Yeah, we're just really starting to try to get into that. As you look at the 4 remaining members, 3 of those schools play men's soccer: Oregon State, Cal, and Stanford. So depending on what they ultimately decide to do, you look at what's available. There are a couple schools in the Mountain West that also have men's soccer. So you could end up having a men's soccer league within the Mountain West. So we kind of got to wait for some dominoes to fall. And then, I think the schools going to the Big 12 out of the Pac-12, the Big 12 doesn't play women's lacrosse. And I'm not sure there's a team that's even in the Big 12 that has women's lacrosse of the, what was the current membership. So there's some, there'll be some schools looking for a home. So you could potentially put together something, just a lacrosse conference of, more of those Western schools that play that don't really have a home.
JD, I'm curious, the impact right now of Snapdragon Stadium and the revenue it's generating for the university and athletics, How valuable has it been? What do the projections look like? What impact does Snapdragon Stadium and what that's presented to the university? What's that going to mean for your athletics department?
Yeah, again, we developed Snapdragon to have, multiple lines of revenue. So that's going to be important for us. It's going to be important for, paying for the stadium because, there's still $300, plus $1 million of stadium to pay for. And, Aztec fans need to step up. This is the time. You can't, I know we're all a little disappointed that, what happened on Friday happened, but if there's, we need you now more than ever, buy season tickets, buy tickets to, football games and come out and, support the student athletes and show the rest of the country that, the Aztec faithful support their, their football team, their basketball team, their soccer, volleyball, whatever it may be. But, we need to see people in the stands cheering on the Aztecs, and it needs to look good on TV because, every game is going to be nationally televised this year, especially that UCLA game on Big CBS.
Yeah, and going back to, realignment here real quick, JD, you mentioned the Big 12 kind of after the Big 4 corner schools, they kind of closed off as far as, realignment and expansion goes. But the ACC is another conference that is in the rumor mill of potentially expanding now with like maybe, Cal and Stanford, but like has the ACC contacted you at all?
No, the ACC has not contacted San Diego State at this point. So, again, it's one of those things as you look at, cross-country travel and those types of things, and depending on, revenues that you're receiving, that's something that's very challenging. And what does it mean to your student-athlete experience? So, with everyone that we can have conversations with and, figure this out. And again, the Mountain West Conference is in a great place to, become stronger through this.
What can San Diegans expect at Snapdragon? I mean, there's been so much in the first year, JD. It has not been a year, remarkably, since the opening of but there's been a lot. I mean, I know you're working on 2024 and beyond. I'm sure there's probably not a lot you could share, to be honest. But I mean, what can San Diegans expect to see in 2024? Because they've seen a lot in 2023.
Yeah, we'll continue to, program the stadium with, great events, starting with Aztec football, and, working on concerts, working on some pretty, nice soccer opportunities next year. So excited about that. And then, MLS will be, under a year come, I guess next February and getting started, and that's going to be great for the San Diego community. So, we're fortunate in San Diego that San Diego State has built, what is seat for seat the best stadium in the country for our community. And so hope people continue to show up and support all of the teams that are there. That just helps us continue to, reinvest in the stadium and reinvest in our programs and continue to look at a great game day atmosphere for our fans.
And whenever the dust settles, and it might not ever settle with conference realignment and, bowl games and everything that goes into college football and athletics, could you see San Diego State having a path to potentially the Holiday Bowl, which obviously is currently aligned with the Pac-12 conference?
There's some, I'm not sure how, bowl games are going to work. All the bowl games, I think, have the ability in their contract to reopen the negotiation if teams move around. Now, what I'm not sure, the NCAA, in the last time bowl games got certified, each conference got assigned a number of bowl games they could actually, sign contracts with, just based on the number of teams who have done the bowl games over a certain time frame. So I'm not exactly sure how that works. And, Big Ten, are they able to add bowls because of the changes that have happened? That's something I haven't seen anything from NCAA on at this point. So I'm sure there'll be some reshuffling to a certain point, especially if you end up merging a Pac-12 and a Big 12, there's now 9 conferences. So, where do those bowl games that were potentially in the Pac-12 or the Mountain West Conference where you combine them? So, there's a lot of questions that got created last week that have not been answered.
JD, just 2 more. You've been extremely generous with your time. I wanted to ask about men's basketball. the renewal process, the excitement. We've talked about football and the season's coming up in 2 weeks. Men's basketball off a national championship game. What's everything looking like? Renewal percentages and anticipation for the season inside of the House.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great year. We're excited about the team that Brian and the coaching staff have put together. I think we're at 95+% or close to it of season ticket renewals. So there won't be a lot of inventory available, for folks if they don't get season tickets. But really excited about the year. Excited to hang a banner and hand out some hardware for those young men that did such a great job. And it's going to be a great year.
And then finally, Aztec Link with the football program on the name, image, likeness side. Mesa Foundation with basketball in the university. I mean, what role are these, collectives having, and what do you want our listeners and supporters in San Diego State to know about NIL right now?
Yeah, I think it's important to check out what Mesa Foundation Aztec Link are doing, and support those groups. It's that's a part of college athletics right now. It will be interesting to see if Congress does anything over the coming months ahead of the first of the year, surrounding NIL and some of the things that have been worked on. I don't know if last week is going to impact that negatively or not, but hopefully we can get some guardrails for the ability for the NCAA to put some rule and regulation around it a little bit. Love the fact that student athletes able to are able to go out and take advantage of their NIL. Lamont Butler, has done very well since the national semifinal game. I mean, he had an NIL opportunity the next day, so that's great. And right now, collectives are a big part of what goes into that. So hopefully, people will look at that and help support those organizations that support our student athletes.
JD, seriously, thank you. It's been as busy of a time as maybe you've had in your career the last year, the opening of Snapdragon Stadium to what's going on this summer with realignment. Really do appreciate the transparency, seriously, since day one with us here on San Diego Sports 760 and elsewhere. Thank you for doing it. We'll see you soon. Football's 2 weeks away. We look forward to seeing you on the Mesa in a couple of weeks.
Are you going to be there on Saturday for FanFest?
Unfortunately, I have another event, an important event on Saturday night, but really encourage all of our fans to get out. It's your first opportunity to see Ryan Lindley's offense. I think, everyone's excited about that. So get to FanFest, get your season tickets, go out and support our student athletes and show the rest of the country what we're all about. Go Aztecs.
Yeah, and again, tickets are available for free right now for FanFest at goaztecs.com. JD, thank you. We'll see you soon. We appreciate it.
Thanks, JD.
All right, guys. Thanks for the time.
All right, JD Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director. We can react. Plus, David J., MadFriars, will join us to talk about Ethan Salas, his promotion from low A to high A. Also, look at the Padres organization heading into the middle of August. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Sean and Jim. All right, Jim's back page ahead in about 15 minutes. We just caught up with JD Wicker. If you missed that conversation, you'll be able to find it at sportssd.com, iHeartRadio app, YouTube. David J. from MadFriars with us right now. It's a really exciting time in the Padres system, not necessarily in the big leagues where they're 55 and 59 and have lost 3 straight. But David J., MadFriars.com, an amazing resource for Padres fans, specifically fans that are interested about the next wave of future Padres prospects. So, David, we appreciate it as always. This Ethan Salas thing is really amazing. I mean, am I now able to talk about like a big league timeline for a 17-year-old who's been moved to Advanced A Fort Wayne? I mean, we could be seeing him in the big leagues in a couple of years, right?
Yeah, I mean, so first of all, it's great to be back on with you guys, and I appreciate it. The last time we talked, I said that, it had moved from seeming completely ludicrous to in the world of possibility to talk about a timeline that got him to the big leagues in 2 years. And I mean, based on the organization's decision at this point, it's probably a step closer to that on the timeline at this point.
Yeah, it's incredible to see. You're like, whoa, the rise of Ethan Salas here is definitely something that everybody's eyebrows raised for sure. But the roster that he's joined is a pretty good roster with the Tin Caps. To talk about the roster that he has joined now for the Tin Caps.
Yeah, and just to give a little context on Salas and the uniqueness, I think being in low A was already in pretty rare air.
Right.
And the last time we saw a 17-year-old get anywhere near the number of at-bats that he's going to in high A was Carlos Triunfo way back in 2007. He got sort of bumped up after less production than Salas had in low A. And really, you got to go back the year before that, even to Fernando Martinez, who got to high A, having more or less the same production as Ethan has at low A. That's kind of the end of the list of guys in this century who've been 17 and in high A. It should also be noted that those are 2 guys who soared up prospect lists as 17 and 18-year-olds whose careers never came to fruition. So, as always, it's worth paying attention to the fact that, yes, what he's doing is highly unusual, and current production is no guarantee of future success. And in terms of that Tin Caps roster as a whole, it's a team that's now got the inside track on a postseason spot. They're in first place in the second half in the Midwest League, and a couple of guys are doing a ton out there. Graham Pauley is just on an amazing bender right now. He's been up there for 35 games and has 13 homers. That's more than he had in his entire career at Duke before the Padres drafted him on day 3 last year. And it's more, it's triple what he had in double the games at Lake Elsinore, which is a much more favorable hitting environment. So, certainly a tribute to him. I think, and the other obvious name just to keep track of out there in Fort Wayne in particular is Robbie Snelling, the lefty who was the Padres' second pick last year, who has just continued to perform. He opened the year in Elsinore, posted a 1-something ERA over his first 11 games and got the promotion. His ERA is actually higher. It is higher out in Fort Wayne, but his underlying numbers are all better. He's striking out more batters. He's keeping the ball in the park better. He's getting more ground balls. So even though the ERA is all the way up to 2.2, his FIP and other sort of predictor stats are all looking better than they did at the lower level earlier this year.
David J., MadFriars.com with us right now on John and Jim. I just want to finish one more on Salas, because I remember I worked in the minor leagues. I don't know if you realize that, Jim. I remember seeing Elvis Andrus as like a 17-year-old, maybe an Advanced A.
Drafted by who?
Drafted by
wasn't AJ Preller drafted? Didn't he draft
Elvis Andrus?
Well, he was international free agent, so yeah.
Yeah, but you're going way back. That was like,
I know, but he loved Elvis Andrus.
Okay, he loved Elvis Andrus, whatever. But he came up as a Braves farmhand, and I saw him as like a 17-year-old in A-ball, but isn't even more rarefied air because it's a catcher. I mean, we're talking, it's one thing to be 17. It's another thing to be 17 and a catcher, right? Like, when's the last time we saw an impactful catcher prior to the age of 20 in the big leagues? It's been a while.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Mauer is the name that jumps
Sure.
out as the guy who at least got there, and Pudge Rodriguez is the other guy. And actually, Mauer may have already been 20 when he got to the big leagues. I'm pretty positive that Rodriguez was in the bigs before he turned 20.
And David, last night, Lake Elsinore, they lost Ethan Salas, but they gained Homer Bush. He debuted last night, looked really good. He had a nice play in left field. I know he had a hit in that game. Talk about Homer Bush and just what to expect out of him from Lake Elsinore.
Yeah, so Bush was the Padres' fourth-round pick this year. He was one of the first guys out of this draft class to get underway in the complex league. He's a guy who's coming into this year, his draft year at Grand Canyon University. There were a lot of questions about his hit tool. He showed some really impressive improvement and development through the course of the year, and that's why the Padres took him where they did. Obviously he's got the big league legacy. He in fact is now the second Homer Bush to be drafted by the Padres organization, and he just got off to an absolutely huge start out in the desert, and was pretty clearly outclassing especially the young pitching out there that is kind of trying to figure its way out. He, his OPS was over 1100. He was, he stole 10 bases in 11 games. So an easy decision to bump him up to the low A level where he's going to face competition more on par with where he is in terms of the on-field skills he has. Is a speedster. And you like the fact that he made some really clear, visible improvements in hitting this year, going into the draft year. You like that he came out hot. He was doing what he should against that level of competition, but there's what you should do, and actually they've got to be happy with that. He's going to be a fun guy to watch on a Storm team that also should be in the mix for a playoff spot down the second half here, and have the chance to play some fun games in September.
David J. from MadFriars is with us right now on John and Jim. We were through the trade deadline that they held on to some of the names we've talked about, obviously, the Sellings and the Salases and others. What did you make of what they acquired for what they gave up?
Yeah, I think we talked about it on the site that having made the decision they did to acquire rather than sell, and I thought beforehand it was a bad idea, and I don't see any reason to have changed my opinion in the week since. I think they, what they gave up, I think was entirely reasonable, right? I mean, you're talking about, a guy like Ryan Weathers, who clearly just has soured in terms of where he and the organization were going forward. Certainly he's no longer a prospect, but still in that up and down space. The other guy they gave up, Henry Williams, is an interesting example of scouting. Remember, he was a guy who they took in the third round last year because he was coming off Tommy John surgery. He'd been a kid in his sophomore year that folks sort of thought, hey, he's got the hallmarks of some things that he could develop in his junior year and become an early round pick, a first round pick. Then he had surgery, and you sort of had to go on what you hoped he was going to be when you last saw him in 2021. He got on the mound out in Elsinore this year and hasn't made a lot of those strides. And again, he's coming off surgery, but you feel pretty comfortable about you're not certainly giving up in front of the rotation starter going forward. As far as Suero is probably the biggest wild card of the guys they gave up, but he's in the same boat as some other really interesting high-end premium athletes who traded out of rookie ball in the last couple of years. Those guys, are a long way away, and it's possible he might hit, but he's got some pretty big questions about swing decision and what he's going to grow into as he goes up from where he is as a 17-year-old.
David, you always have amazing insight on the state of the system, whether it's now through the trade deadline or some of these younger players. Ethan Salas, again, all the way up to Fort Wayne, Advanced Day Baseball as a 17-year-old. We'll continue to keep an eye on it. Look forward to doing it again at some point between now and the end of the regular season, of course, as well. And thank you for your time here on John and Jim.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always good to talk with you guys. And, we love the chance to interact with folks online at MadFriars on Twitter and the social stuff. And, love the feedback we get on the stuff that's on the site.
Thanks,
All right.
David.
So MadFriars.com, again, for our listeners, at MadFriars on social media. Again, David J, MadFriars.com. Really good insight. All right. From JD Wicker to David J to Jim's back page, plus our reactions. That's next. All right, Jim's back page in a moment. John and Jim back with you. Very eventful Wednesday, I would say. I'm trying to think.
Good Wednesday.
We just went back to back there with JD Wicker and then David J. I'm trying to think about our conversation with JD, where he basically started by saying that, like, they, if the league stayed together, as we have read about,
They were 100%.
they were in the league.
They're in the league. It was already a done deal.
So, and then people are going to say, well, what happened to the Big 12? He answered the question.
They stopped contacting schools because they already got what they wanted.
Well, they got the four corners.
Yeah, that's it.
And it was always going to start Power 5 and then go Group of 5. It's like, you can only control what you can control. Like, you can't control the Pac-12 dissolving.
Right. Because the Pac-12 dissolved is JD's fault that they it's not his fault.
It's not. And by the way, we can't control the future. We don't know. Like, do Stanford and Cal stick around and try to start something with Oregon State and Washington State? I have no idea.
I don't know.
And if they do, we'll see what that looks like. If they don't, we'll see what that looks like. Does the Big 12 expand beyond 16 in the future? It's possible. If they do, what does that mean for San Diego State? I mean, people don't like hearing it. They really don't, but San Diego State's extremely well positioned. They're just on the outside looking in.
Right.
And it's hard. It's hard, man. It's hard to break through that door. It just is. And there were a series of things, obviously, that happened against, what are you watching? This Phillies no-hitter?
Sorry.
Yeah, stop. Who cares? But there was a series of things that have gone, obviously, not in their whatever, have not gone their way, and it's been outside of their control.
They could not have controlled or stopped the
fact that the league kind of just folded.
It died. Like San Diego State couldn't have stepped in and be like, "Hey guys, you need to stay." That didn't happen. That was not going to happen.
Right. You can't call up Oregon and be
like,
"Hey, don't say yes to the Big Ten. Sign that Apple deal."
Yeah, it's not happening.
Right.
And it sucks because they were in. They were going to be in, and then
it hasn't even been a week. That was Friday.
I mean, I can't even imagine what it must have been like sitting in a conference room or wherever JD was with I'm sure other people inside of the school administration and maybe Della Torre, okay, we're in, draft up the release, get the graphics ready. And then an hour later, it's like, wait, what happened?
And it wasn't just JD. I mean, when Pete Thamel said, hey, there's reasons for optimism this morning that they could land this plane. And then obviously Oregon and Washington had other ideas. And JD Wicker just told you, and we'd have to listen back to it. Said it. Obviously, it was extremely disappointing.
Yep. And Arizona State. Not so much Arizona State. They kind of got dragged with Arizona and Utah. But then the Big 12 was like, okay, we're going to strike now.
We'll see what happens next. This much I know about conference realignment. It never stops.
Never stops.
Ever.
Never, ever stops.
Let's get to it.
I saw you tweeting about this last night with Darnay.
Okay.
So this is on the back page about a month ago, maybe less than that.
Mm-hmm.
Subway was doing a contest to win Subway for life, free Subway for life, if you changed your name legally to Subway.
Yes.
And you had to enter. And then if you got chosen, then you had to change your name to Subway. Nearly 10,000 people offered to legally change their name to Subway to get free sandwiches for life. Well, one lucky individual has been chosen to change their name to Subway. Oh, Phillies threw a no-hitter.
Michael Lorenz at 123 pitches, maybe 124.
That's his mom. She is.
I must be.
Wow. That must be nice. So yeah, winner's been chosen. This person will now have to change their name, his or her name, to Subway.
That's ridiculous.
To get free Subway for life. You were joking with
we were joking last night. John and Subway. And then he's like, no, Subway and Subway.
Yeah.
I was like, sports rap with Subway.
Big Subway and Subway.
I said big Subway, TD and Subway for some reason.
Yeah. San Diego Sports Subway.
I mean, are you changing your name to Subway for anything? I mean, yeah, sure. For $100 million.
Yeah, a bunch of money.
Yeah, money.
Sandwiches.
Right.
So now this person has to officially change their name, and the official winner will be announced later this month.
That's ridiculous.
Dude, it is insane to me. Okay, so Brent mentioned this to me off air for the back page. If you have Disney Plus, get ready for them to crack down on password sharing, because like Netflix has done, Disney Plus will now do as well, where they're going to be cracking down on password sharing, the CEO says. So if you share your password with your
mom,
brother, whatever it is.
So you can't do it with anyone. Can you have access for a couple of screens?
I think it's going to be just like it is for Netflix,
which is what, a couple of screens still, right?
We had
in the same household.
Me and Aaron had to get our own
same
Netflix
household,
account.
but that's not the issue. If you're sharing passwords, you're not typically in the same household.
Well, no, I'll give you an example. Me and my wife. If I'm here, it's a real question. If I'm here watching Netflix at work and she's at home watching Netflix at home, is that legit?
No.
Really? I didn't realize that. I really didn't realize that.
Because it's going to come up as two different addresses. Because
I didn't
that's what
realize
happened to me, because I was sharing my Netflix password with my old roommate, and then it got cut off like 2 weeks ago.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, same thing with us. We were taking Aaron's family's Netflix account, and it just like shut off on us. We had to get a new one.
Dude,
these password sharing, man.
I like sharing with everyone. I don't know if it works for the companies. It works very well for me.
And finally, real quick, John, you like cheesesteak. Actually, no, you
don't.
No,
I'm a vegetarian.
But you obviously have come from, cheesesteak, right?
Yeah.
Well, people are driving hours to try a new Malibu Barbie Dream Drizzle cheesesteak at guess where?
Barbie cheesesteak, no idea.
Geno's in New York, like one of the most famous cheesesteak spots in the country.
No. First of all, Geno's is in Philadelphia.
Well, Geno's steak, cheesesteak, and onion in New York.
New York?
Geno's is popular.
Geno's, like Pat's and Geno's, the most famous cheesesteak places in the world in Philadelphia?
Well, whoever Josh Amidon, he's known as the cheesesteak Jedi, according to this article.
Geno's in New York.
Geno's steak.
There is a Geno's in New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's everything in New York.
And he wanted to jump on the Barbie craze, and he created a Barbie cheesesteak with a Barbie like cheese pink drizzle on it.
Ew.
It looks like Pepto-Bismol.
It does. It really does.
And I'm sure that all cheesesteak purists hate this. I'm shocked that
that might work in New York. You can't do that.
I am shocked that a guy that is known as the cheesesteak Jedi would sell out for Barbie and make a pink cheesesteak.
Right.
Would you eat it? Actually, no, you wouldn't. Brent, would you eat it?
No, it's a cheesesteak. I don't like cheesesteak.
Oh, that's right, because of onions.
I'm not eating it because I'm a vegetarian. And also, I wouldn't eat it even if I wasn't a vegetarian, because that's a very anti-cheesesteak.
It is called the Malibu Barbie Dream Drizzle, which is on top of the cheese.
that would never happen.
I don't know if I'm doing that. I don't know if I'm doing that.
At Pat's and Geno's in Philadelphia, you can't even, that would never happen. The one option is like onions. All right. If you missed anything today, make sure to check out sportssd.com, the iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, or Spotify. Also, by the way, you can listen to us, or if you're listening to the podcast, please leave a review as well. Follow us on social media at John and Jim. That is JONANDJIM. We're back again tomorrow at 3 p.m., we believe. And then Friday, we're at Fair Play in North Park.
Fun.
So we'll recap the Padres Mariners series tomorrow at 3 p.m. Look ahead to this weekend as well. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it right here. It's the all-new San Diego Sports 760. Okay.